we have come to my favorite part of the evening's entertainment, the presenting of the Golden Heart Award for Outstanding Volunteerism. This award is special because it's given to an individual who has changed the face of the organization, not just for the better, but for good. Nonprofits are very delicate organisms. Some years are fat and some years are very lean. Some years you have a strong leadership and a clear direction, and other times you struggle to find the right path to meet your mission. Sometimes exhaustion sets in or burnout sets in, and the organization needs to be re-energized, re-galvanized, and pointed in a new direction. To have an organization find its legs and remain not just stable, but to flourish and thrive is a rare and wonderful thing in the nonprofit world. For 30 years. That is extraordinary. Extraordinary. I'm getting misty-eyed. That's why tonight it is my pleasure to give the Golden Heart Award for Outstanding Volunteerism to Michael Sennott, who served... Oh, he's got his plaque. Michael Sennott, who served as co-chair of the board of directors of God's Love for 10 years and who for the last 5 years has led the expansion campaign that brought the organization the wonderful new Michael Kors building. As chairman of the campaign, Mr. Sennott helped to raise over $37 million. Extraordinary, please, extraordinary. In the fundraising world of nonprofits, this makes him LeBron James, Roger Federer, and Tom Brady all rolled into one, okay? Well, maybe not Tom Brady. But besides fundraising, I didn't say anything about deflated balls, be quiet. But for fundraising, for which you have to know absolutely everyone and be incredibly charming and fearless in asking them to lighten their wallets for a great cause, you also have to have vision and the strategies that move the organization towards its goals. Michael's leadership skills are prodigious and legendary. He never says no. He says, how much and when do you need it by? And then he makes it happen. On his watch, God's Love doubled the number of meals cooked and delivered to people too sick to cook for themselves or their family. And also, I have to remind you that it's not typical that a chairman of the board of trustees knows the staff and the volunteers by their first names. Nor is it typical that the chairman is the first one to call with kudos for a job well done or to write a personal note of support or encouragement. This is Michael Sennett's way. He's given his time, his energy, his resources, and the most tender part of his soul to God's Love we deliver for the last 15 years. For these reasons, I personally stand in awe of him. His heart is already golden, but it gives me great pleasure to present him with 2015's Golden Heart Award for Outstanding Volunteerism. Where are you? Where are you?
I want to thank you. Stay, wait. I haven't said anything yet. I really am very moved by this award. I'm very fortunate to be involved with God's Love, very fortunate to be here tonight. And I want to tell you why I think I'm fortunate and what God's Love has meant to me, and maybe some of you who are not involved might get involved, and some of you who are involved might get more deeply involved. I think feeding the sick is an innate human quality. I think it's in our DNA. And I think it happens out of mercy and compassion. And sometimes that gets pushed to the side by the lives we lead and the city we live in, where we're not sure who the people are in our buildings. So neighbor means something different. And I think what happened with AIDS was that the disease was so overwhelming, affected so many people with a death sentence at the time, that compassion just spontaneously happened. And it didn't just happen here in New York, which is why I think it's built into DNA. It happened in San Francisco, in Los Angeles, in Washington, in Boston, in lots of major cities. People just felt a need to help. And they came forward to do whatever it took to get things done. Jeff Krause came forward and they asked what he could do, and he said, well, my father was a butcher, so I can cut meat. Well, as we grew, it turned out that he was also a venture capitalist, and he became the treasurer. Those are the kinds of people that came out, and they came out for their friends and family. Sylvia Vogelman can make those little tiny dices for chicken soup that she learned from cooking for the holidays. But she also is a direct marketing expert and a valiant champion. So she was my co-chair. And I won't forget Blaine Trump, who in the early days, we took the kitchen apart every night. She was like a field sergeant with a speed which she could strip it. But since then, she has been indomitable in introducing everybody she meets to God's love. She has non-stop introducing her friends, acquaintances, people she meets in the airport, companies and individuals. So people did whatever was necessary at the time. I came late to the party. I'm HIV positive, so it was a natural place to come. But I had lived in London late 80s and most of the 90s, which, by the way, has a very different view of the disease, but that's for another night's conversation. So when I came back and retired, my old friend, Mr. Wilmot, Paul, called me up. We had lunch with Blaine, and he explained what it was we did and how we did it. Well, I really didn't know much about it, so I started out and discovered something quite unusual. That because this comes from mercy and compassion, and because you're directly feeding a friend or a neighbor, there is a remarkable dignity on both sides of that equation. And the atmosphere produces joy. I think joy comes out of that. So surprisingly enough, the kitchen was alive. And the people who worked there were very conscious that they were feeding somebody and who those people were. That still happens today. I came at a fortunate time because the AIDS crisis had started to recede a bit through drugs and protocols. It wasn't a life-taking away issue. So we had some time to step back and think and realize that there are other people who have life-threatening diseases, who need nutrition and food and comfort as much as the AIDS victim. I'm sure today a woman with 3 children who has metastatic cancer is just as terrified as I am and just as need as something to happen. So to be able to reach out and do something about that was terrific. Now, we've always had individuals. We've also had lots of companies that have helped us out. Lester Grabetz from Bloomingdale's came in, and not only did he give us turkeys one year, they baked the turkeys too. And Ann Keating still today supports us and are present in our new building. Michael Kors certainly came forward, and the company has come forward. And they've helped us out. God knows Mac was there in the beginning. Since 1985, they have, with Viva Glam, set their proceeds to help HIV organizations. John, thank you for that. So we've really had people, I don't know if corporations are people, by the way, but I know people at corporations reach out, and that sort of helps us go forward. When I was there, it was clear that once we reached out beyond the AIDS community, the number of people who needed help was enormous. And it was clear we had to expand what we were doing. We had to focus more closely on how we treated our patients. Suddenly there were different needs, different diets, different things to do, different medications. We learned all that. And then we built the building. And the same people who had come forward all the way along continued to come forward and support that building. Michael Kors, Condé Nast, Mac, individuals like Lance DeClear and Michael Kors, the Cohns, Stephen Alexander, they all came up and supported. There's another reason I did this. Bette talked about Richard Sales. He co-hosted my 40th birthday. he never lived to be 40. That's why helping God's love we deliver is a way of honoring all those people, and to say out of all of this came something like God's love we deliver. Thank you very much.